Don't shoot the cowboy with the guitar. Well, I saw him here last night. He plays and sings.
Hello, sexy people. Is it a talk show? Is it a podcast? Is it a crazy music vehicle? Yes, folks, it is. RAUNCHYTALK is what we named her. Mr. Jesse Corman is in the driver's seat. My guest today, a man who has literally toured the world and this country coast to coast. He's been in some of the biggest bands in the Southwest. One of my favorite voices. Just wait, folks. I give you Mr. Adam Hooks. Welcome, sir. I am so excited for you coming in here today. Thank you, first of all. Okay, I really feel like you're, quote unquote, the real deal. Like when I think of like people that are music and are performing artists and are rock and roll, like to me, you embody that character. We're going to talk about all of it. How did Adam Hooks start playing music?
I grew up in a musical family. My dad was a pastor. My mom was in the choir at church, and I lucked out and was born with some pretty good pipes. So
I totally agree.
So I was able to put that to good use, and I started by singing in church choir, school choir, but also just grew up loving listening to all types of music, especially rock and roll. And luckily, my pastor father was not of the right-leaning variety and was very supportive of that, and
cool.
Is a huge music fan as well. So I was exposed to like the Dead Kennedys for the first time, like on my way to church.
Church,
like wow,
as it should
wild.
be, folks. As it should be.
Yeah, I mean, and so, but like when I first started writing songs, I was young. I'm pretty sure the very first song I wrote was actually a hymn about the 10 Commandments. Oh. When I was like 8 years old, 9 years old, maybe a little older, but then around the time I was in my early teens, junior high, like I was getting really into like the 60s rock scene, and I idolizing assholes like Jim Morrison, and,
right.
and decided I could write poetry, and so writing poetry kind of led more towards lyrics, and
sure.
and I put my eggs in one basket and kind of
never looked back.
Settled in for the ride, man. Yeah.
I love it, man. No, I love some of that stuff. So let's start with this. Does it start with Stabbed in the Back?
So, actually, it starts with Adam Hooks and his Hang-Ups.
It doesn't really? Okay,
Yeah,
please tell me.
So Adam Hooks and his Hang-Ups started when I first moved back to Albuquerque. So I lived in Albuquerque from 2003 to 2007, kind of just messing around, not knowing what I was doing with my life. Still playing music.
Sure.
Still playing in like I had a pop punk band back then called All She Wrote, and I was like the open mic host at the Blue Dragon coffee shop
nice.
and stuff. Like so I was still doing a lot of stuff back then, but ended up moving back to the Midwest for a while, and I ended up coming back in about 2009, I would say, like later 2009, where I had a bunch of like some friends already down here ready to go. Like, hey, like send me the new songs. I'll get some guys ready.
Yeah.
It started out as a four piece with a guy named Chris Summerald, who I'm sure still works and does a lot of good stuff around here. Mm-hmm. But he ended up having a kid and needing to focus on that. And so exactly. and so we focused on the 3-piece thing, and really that's actually when we started developing like our sound, which was, just that combination of Midwestern singer-songwriter Americana and like garage rock, essentially.
Sure.
Yeah. And so we did a bunch from like 2009 to 2011, 12, I would say. Around that time is when I started working with Stabbed in Back. I was essentially a hired gun at first with that band. Like okay. I got called by the drummer of that band, a man named Tim O'Hara, who used to be was in a band called the Lillingtons, who were a pretty big punk rock band. Yeah. And damn it,
wants you.
Yeah. And he apparently. Colin Dowell, who I was in Russian Girlfriends with as well, and is also currently my next door neighbor. FYI, everybody.
Convenient.
Yeah. But he had heard me or heard us play at like some downtown, like party,
Yeah.
and was just like, yeah, this guy has great vocals, and they had Stabbed and Back had just lost their original vocalist, so they hired me on with promises of seeing the world, which we did,
They actually followed up on that one, huh?
Yeah.
Nice job.
So I mean, I had to pay my own way, but that's beside the
still.
point. We all did, so when that started, I took a hiatus from the hang-ups because Stabbed and Back was just working a lot, and I had already done a solo tour before, and like a couple little tours with the hang-ups. Well, and one pretty big one up through the Midwest, but Stabbed and Back was the first band that was like, yeah, we're hitting the road for 30 days
Extended
at a
periods of
time,
time.
a time, and literally like, well, you got to quit your job if you got to quit your job to go on the road and stuff like that.
See, and that's what I meant by real deal, folks. That's what you got to do. You got to quit your job and just put it out there, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like with even thinking about all the stress and grief that you go through while trying to like juggle the lifestyle of being a independent touring musician while also surviving and paying your bills. I mean, like, I still don't think I would have given up any of it. Like, I mean, just, I mean, I'd be a little bit more smarter the next time around as
sure.
How I would deal with things. But as far as the experiences, like it prepared me for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean I didn't get sick of it to the point of needing to take a break.
Yeah, but the ride too, though, right?
Yeah, of course.
So by the time you really came into my radar, it was Russian Girlfriends by the time. Now, as far as I know, that you toured as extensively with them as just about any band. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you toured the UK and in Europe and all over America. I mean, what was all that like? Were you kind of feeling like, wow, we're not far from leveling up?
I mean, there were certain points that it felt like that, and I feel like there was an energy there, especially at the beginning when we left Stabbed and Back and started that band, just to really push it, and that was great, and we recorded some great records, and at the beginning did tours on our own, like Colin's always been really good at doing the business side of things, and especially with that band, and but then. I feel like there was a point there where like we kind of exhausted ourselves, where we pushed ourselves super hard, and it kind of drained us, or at least it drained me.
Probably got pretty thin,
a lot.
yeah.
And we had recorded our second album, but it took like 2 or 3 years to actually put it out because of waiting for like a label to pick it up. And I feel like at that time there like so much had like changed in my life, and and songwriting and all sorts of things that by the time that album finally came out and we were touring on that record, I was like my emotions were not where they were when I put them into that album,
And you and I were talking about that before we went live. When you cut stuff, sometimes it's almost like a snapshot of who you are in that moment, and time goes on and things change, and before you know it, you're not exactly that same artist anymore.
Yeah. And I love the work I did with that band, and I wrote some of the best songs I've ever written with those guys, and they were able to like take a lot of my songs and like make them something way different than my normal Americana singer songwriter like path, and like I love it, and I'm proud of those records, but I also like realized that at a certain point like my heart wasn't in it, and I felt like that was kind of dragging everybody else down. And that's not fair, especially when these are my friends and brothers as well as fellow musicians and band members. And so like as tough of a decision as it was, talking with them, like I felt like it was better. I felt like it would be better for me to maintain my friendships than to try to keep butting heads with everybody.
Well, the gods of empathy, I think, would give you a heads up for that one. So now, as you talk about kind of moving into these next parts here, so on April 21st of this year, you and Sam Nesbitt release 7 stories from rural America.
Yes, sir.
This is a very interesting project to me. It's the orchestral pieces in the background. It's almost like painting a tapestry for me. Do you write everything, or how does that work?
Well, so the arrangements on that. So I wrote all the songs, yes, and as far as acoustic guitar, vocals, some harmonies. Sam Nesbitt, who has been one of my musical counterparts and co-writers for the last over 10 years.
Was Sam in some of these other bands with you?
Sam is in the Hang-Ups. Sam is has been the member of the Hang-Ups that has stuck with me through a lot of bullshit.
Sure.
And, thick and thin. And I really can't wait to actually get together and play with him again once we can get this pandemic thing situated. But for this album, like I they were my songs, and we discussed what we wanted out of them. But he is just an incredible arranger and a multi-instrumentalist, and we really wanted to use like everything we had available, and because he works doing a lot of like teaching with like big schools around the area, music instruction and stuff. Like he composes and uses like electronic midis and stuff like that to be able to.
He's the tech guy.
Yeah, well, but also an incredible like drummer, saxophonist, like bass player. I mean, he really can do it all. Cool. I mean, he's great. And so we talked about what we wanted. We discussed the feeling of the songs. And so we kind of like what instruments we wanted to use, and he would go in and just take my vocals and acoustic guitar and turn them into like amazing Americana soundscapes.
No, the production and the dynamics, it's very original, all that stuff on this little record that you have, and I really liked it. I've listened to it extensively. Now, we're going to play a song off of this record. And I don't want to say I picked it out, folks, but I so friggin' picked it out. That's all I'm going to say. I absolutely love Big River. Can you talk about that particular song a little bit? And my audience is going to know why.
Okay, so Big River is... I'm a huge fan. I mean, I'm just always been a fan of storytelling songs. Like, I just feel like that's where my strengths lie, but also, like, there's something so powerful about being able to take a song and take someone like literally through a journey of just a like
story.
Yeah, a story. I mean,
totally.
And so this particular song I wrote, the inspiration is kind of dumb. I got to be honest.
No.
I have issues with insomnia, and I often combat that by staying up late at night and smoking large quantities of marijuana and watching X-Files reruns. And so during one of these bouts where...
Totally conducive to creative material here, folks, okay?
I mean, honestly, the truth is out there.
Right?
But if, like, really, like, there was just... It was one of those evenings where that was kind of my combination. I ended up waking up in the middle of the night, couldn't get back to bed, watched X-Files, smoked a bowl, and passed back out and had this, like, just weird dream about alien abduction, and just due to my love of New Mexican history, it's just, and the fact that New Mexico already has a history with the supernatural and aliens specifically.
And then the way you take the wording and use the Rio Grande and some of that connotation and the border, love this song, dude, for sure. I was trying to if I was going to try to like pigeonhole your sound, I told you this earlier, it's like Americana, like sci-fi punk or something. Like, I didn't even know what to do with it, but it just sounds so killer. And the fact that we're doing 2 alien songs in the last 2 episodes works for me. So I now give you Big River by Mr. Adam Hooks.
So this is a song called Big River. By the time I came to, she was already missing. There was no time to gather my senses. I don't know what I've seen, but I know that I've seen it. If I told you the truth, you would never believe me. Out from the sky there came a light by the Rio Grande, by the Rio Grande. It picked her up and passed me by the Rio Grande, by the Rio. I called the police, they had plenty of questions, and they weren't too enthralled with
my explanations. They said I sounded nervous, said I was acting suspicious. They wanna know where she's buried, could I be more specific? Wanna know just what we were doing there by the Rio Grande, by the Rio Grande. They said they found strands of her hair by the Rio Grande, by the Rio Grande. They said that people don't just disappear by the Rio Grande, by the Rio Grande. Maybe we're not making ourselves clear. That's when she leaned in and said, I'd never understand. Lifted into space and let go of my hand. Oh, I don't know what to tell you. Tell you everything, everything I know. I don't know what to tell you. Tell you anything, everything I know. I don't know what to tell you. Tell you anything, everything I know. I don't know what to tell you. 'Cause out from the sky there came a light by the Rio Grande, by the Rio Grande. The picture it passed me by the Rio Grande, by the Rio Grande. Out from the sky there came a light by the Rio Grande, by the Rio Grande.
Thank you, Mr. Adam Hooks. Thank you, Olaphonic Studios. My name is Kyle Martin. Live long and prosper.
Stay safe out there, folks.
Don't shoot the cowboy with the guitar. What I saw in